some years you get, you give them too much time and you get a giant fish all the way back to the boat, and you grab the leader and it comes up and does a gag and the bait comes out. You've fought that fish with 30 kilos of drag all the way to the boat, but it's just been holding.
And you never hooked it. Yeah. Gotcha.
Nah, the hook's not even close to being in its mouth, and then as soon as you get the leader, which is the whole fun part, it just does a bit of a gag and the bait comes out.
And how did it start out? Like, what was the origin story?
Too much alcohol.
Really? Okay.
Says if God wanted us to have fiberglass boats, he would have given us fiberglass trees.
It's for fishermen. It's not for taking the wife and the wife's friends.
I think that it's a really, really pretty bit.
And then there was a blur that went by and ended up in the cockpit, as far as if I can remember correctly.
Welcome back to State of Sport Fishing Podcast. I'm Nick Rulo. I'm joined with me, my co-host, Anthony Pino, with Hooked Optics and Captain of the Blood Money. Today, our guest is Daniel Klein out of the Gold Coast, Australia. He runs a custom rig 58-footer that they just fished their first season on. How's it going, Daniel?
Yeah, good, mate. Yeah. Nice. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for joining us, man.
So, Daniel, just give a little, just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into it, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, well, sort of what I do, that was my 16th season up there on the reef, and I've sort of been doing that, full time as my job. Yeah, for the last 16 years. I did 10 years as a crew up there and all over Australia, and this is my 6th year driving. What I was grew up fishing with my dad, like doing all the sort of tournaments here on the east coast of Australia, just with the Sydney Game Fishing Club. And I was a little game fisher frother, like loving all the boats and all the names and everything. And one of the boats from our club, Little Audrey, Phil Webster, he invited me and my dad up to the reef in like 2002, I think it was. And I was still in school. I think I was 16 or something then. And we did like 2 weeks up there on his boat. And I saw my first giant marlin. I was hooked, and that was me. I wanted to quit school there and then. And I was done. So that was gonna be my job. And my mum and dad were like, "Oh, you can't you have to get a trade behind you." So I left school and then did an apprenticeship as a marine mechanic. So that was a 4-year trade. And during my trade, I'd take I get 3 weeks holiday a year, and I'd take that 3 weeks off and go up on Little Audrey with Phil and his sister and them, and go fish up on the reef, or just go help. I wasn't getting paid or anything. Help and get showed the ropes, and then that was me. And as soon as I finished my trade, I was out of there, and I was just started fishing.
That's
really
awesome.
crewing on different boats around Australia. Like met all the sort of gun captains and stuff, and
I'm sure it helped. I'm sure that schooling helped you get jobs. I'm sure.
Yeah, it really did, especially in the my first gig. We went up. I was guiding for Barramundi, like up in Weipa, which was like quite remote, like North Queensland, and like having that behind me was impeccable, and it also really helped me getting jobs as well, like throughout my career, and ended up going on to getting my like MED1, which is a real high engineering ticket. So I was like one of the youngest, or it was me and another captain both got it at the same time. We were both by far the youngest in our class. To get that ticket, which has been helpful throughout my career for sure.
Badass. What is it? Wednesday? It's Wednesday there right now?
Mate, what is it?
It's Tuesday.
I think it's Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday, 8:30 a.m.
Oh,
so I was a bit confused when I got the email. I'm just the computer stuff confused me a bit sometimes and the time difference. But now we're here. Yeah, so just down the boat here. We're I've actually got to move it to another berth today. But as I was saying, I just got off it last Saturday. Spent the last 3 months. 3 months on board. Took it up to Cairns and did the heavy tackle season, which was unreal. And just get back to a bit of normality.
Tell us how your year goes, Daniel, as far as like the calendar and how you guys fish. I mean, obviously the biggest thing is what everybody knows from the States here is the Great Barrier Reef fishing, but there's pretty good fishing there on the Gold Coast too, right?
Yeah. Well, the Gold Coast is like a sensational fishery. Like we're going to stay here this year and do that. I'm actually from Sydney, but I travel up and down the coast with the boat. And my usual season will be Port Stephens, which is sort of it's like 2.5 hours north of Sydney, and by car it's like 70 miles or something by boat. So usually all finish cans, take the boat down to Sydney, hang out there over Christmas, and then we take the boat up to Port Stephens. And yeah, the fishery out there is great. So we fish there from the fishery out there goes from sort of start of Feb to sort of end of April. And yeah, it's sensational. You can catch all three, getting, Grand Slams is not out of the question. You got the juvenile blacks inshore and the inshore reefs, the little tiny ones. And then, you go out to the shelf and you got blues, blacks and stripes out there. Yeah, it's quite awesome. So we do 3 months there, and that's where all the tournaments are. Not like big money tournaments like you boys, but you win a bit of timber with a hook on it. That's about all you get. But it's good fun. Yeah, there's one tournament now which is sort of chucking a little bit of money in there. It's the Billfish shootout, which is I think it might be 50 grand or something for a fish over 280 kilos or something like that. But then they have like a prize category for most tagged, which is about $10,000, and then heaviest fish, or it might be 10 or 12,000. But yeah, that's like now that those money tournaments are coming in, like all the boats are fishing them instead of the sort of prestigious timber plaque ones. Everyone wants, they want the cash.
Nice.
Considering the fuel prices and stuff. And yeah, but no, Port Stephens is an epic fishery. Yeah, really, really good.
How do you guys fish there?
A lot of live baiting. So, we do a lot of skip baiting and teaser fishing and, mix it up with some live baits. When you're fishing the tournaments, so we catch the slimy mackerel, which I don't know what they'd be sort of for you guys over there. But yeah, they're like sort of like a small sort of mackerel, and you catch them inshore, you can catch them out on the shelf. And yeah, and you slow troll them around, or you sort of teaser fish and pitch bait, the live slimies, or you skip bait around. It all sort of depends. Like during the tournament, it's hard to compete with the live baiters if you're sort of skip baiting or trying to teaser fish. But midweek, like when we're out fishing, because this is a charter boat too, so we do quite a few days out there, and so there's probably 2 other charter boats up there. So when there's only a couple of the boys out there, like you don't have to live bait. You can, it's so much better not doing that. It's all visual and stuff, and the stripies are all lit up, and yeah, it's nothing to get 5, 6, 7 fish a day there, and they're all sort of average between 60 kilos and up to like 120, 130 kilos for the stripes. So they're nice ones.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and the blue marlin fishing can be good there. We caught one day on the Cookie, the other boat that I look after, which is a 56 Viking. We caught 8 blues in a day there, which was nice, which was good. That was a good day. Like, up to like 180 kilos, probably the biggest.
Wow. And that's out of where you are now?
No, I'm at the Gold Coast right now. So yeah, the owner gets up here on the 30th, and he's going to spend 3 weeks on board, and we're going to do a little bit of fishing. But they catch big blue marlin here too. Like I haven't, to be honest, done that much fishing out of here. I usually just, we usually stop in on the way down to Sydney. But we're going to sort of spend a bit of time here. I'll go down and drive the Viking for the tournaments down at Port Stephens this year, and the boat will just hang here. The owner of this boat's he's not really into the tournament sort of stuff. He likes more of the adventure sort of stuff. So we got a few trips planned. We're going to go to some offshore reefs out the top of Fraser Island come February, March, April. Just do a bit of that instead of doing the tournament stuff.
Wow.
When you do that, do you have a big boat that carries fuel with you?
Nah, this thing's got sort of designed this boat to do that sort of stuff. We hold about 6,000 litres of fuel, and everything we do is chugging. So I got 1,000 litres of water. I've got refrigeration space for Africa. It's sort of designed for that sort of long range stuff. But our long range stuff, it's probably if we take the boat from here up to sort of Urangan, you could fuel up there. Then it's only maybe like 150, 180 miles out to the reef, and you chug out there, and I'd have at least chugging. I reckon I went from Cairns all the way to here, 800 miles, and only burnt like 4,200 litres. So I could do at least 12, 13 days of fishing.
Oh, wow.
On my own fuel. Yeah.
Wow.
As long as I'm not running too much.
And that's a new boat for you guys?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Yeah. So it's the assegai, which is that's like I don't know what you'd say. That's like Aussie custom.
It's a premier build, custom boat builder there, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Yeah. It's built for, Australian conditions. They're beautiful. Yeah. Plank cedar construction. They're bulletproof. And so, we designed, myself, the owner, and, Barry, sort of built the boat. It took, you know, obviously as the custom builds do, about longer than expected, but it was worth it in the end.
How long did that build take?
Took like maybe 3.5 years. Yeah,
How big is it?
3.5 years to build 58 foot. Yeah, 58 foot. Oh, there's a bunch of different variables. What, you know, made it delayed. He had a few other boats in front of us, and yeah, it was just a bit of a snowball effect.
You said it holds 6,000 liters of fuel.
Yeah.
So what's that gallons?
No.
Not sure.
Because that sounds like a lot.
It's quite, yeah, it's a lot for, you know, a boat this size. And we got, 1,000 litres of water. We got the C18A certs in this thing. It's not a rocket ship like your boys' boats, but it, you know, it does the job. The fish love it.
Are you figuring it out, Nick?
Oh,
Be curious.
like 1,600.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot for a 58-foot boat. I mean,
yeah, well,
especially one that has
sort of,
C18s. Sure, that Viking burns a lot more fuel than that thing.
Yeah, it does. Well, it's got the 1550s, and I think that holds around the same amount of fuel. I think they're 56, that the cookie.
What color is it? The Viking?
Yellow.
Okay.
Yeah, it's that fighting lady yellow.
I used to work on a 56 Viking when I was a kid, and I don't never remember where it went after I worked on it, so didn't know if it just wound up in Australia.
It's called the Cookie. I think it's always been called the Cookie. I think it was from,
Gotcha.
I don't know where it's from. Staten Island, I think it has set on the back.
I got you.
But yeah, we took that out. We put an Aussie built tower on it, and I taken that up to the reef twice, and we've done some sensational fishing on that. It's a private boat. Yeah, they're awesome. We've had some great times on that boat. It's quick, 28 knot cruise, which is pretty awesome.
How much does that price? I was curious. How much is the price per liter there?
$2.40 a litre here at the moment.
$2.40.
So it's up there. It's as expensive as I've ever seen.
Was there anything special? Like, I mean, you get to build a boat for, having the opportunity to build a custom boat like that is like what every captain wants to do. Do you guys did you build it for any sort of, obviously you built it to travel, but is there anything special that you guys did to it that, was unique or just custom built to your specifications for what you guys do on your boat? Because what you guys do for what we're used to on the East Coast and in the States for the most part, what you guys call normal is like an adventure for us,
Yeah, no, I definitely did, man. Well, I did 5 years full time as a crew on assegai, which was their flagship boat, and it was a 55 assegai, and I spent like so many hours just sitting on that covering board, holding the halyard, or looking at the spread, just dreaming one day I'd be lucky enough to build one of these, and what would I do to sort of improve on it. Not that boat needed much improvement, but and then when this owner who I've driven boats for the last maybe 10 years, or looked after his boats, said, mate, we're going to build one. I just was lucky enough that Brett had his the owner had his ideas of what he wanted, and that he sort of had full confidence in me, gave me sort of free rein to sort of look after all the fishing side of things. And we do a lot of liverboard stuff, so I've got refrigeration is a massive thing for us, and that's one thing that is different between our boats and the American boats. Like there's the Viking.
There's 6 pull-out drawers in the Viking, and the cockpit freezer isn't very much to go on, is it?
Yeah,
for what you guys
can't
do.
fit many scalies in there. No, you can't. No, and you have to have an extra freezer up in the bridge and all these sort of bits and pieces. But freezer space, and also like self drainage of the cockpit is a huge thing in these Aussie built boats. Like it's rough where we're fishing. Like pretty well 80% of the time and be blowing 25 knots.
Wow.
So getting water out of that cockpit is a huge thing, which you see in these Aussie built boats. And so this thing's built pretty well for liverboard. We don't have the flash veneer walls and stuff because everyone's pinballing down the, companionway constantly with sunscreen on them. So we got, it's sort of, everything's nice and, easy to maintain, and it's still classy and beautiful. But, you're not spraying and wiping timber walls all day long like we sort of have to do on the on the Viking.
That 56 Viking, it'll sink itself going backwards.
No, sort of they're definitely good going forwards, but they're good. It's when when you're full of fuel and it's quite rough and stuff, especially up there on the reef, is a little bit hairy. That's for sure.
How do they drain
Yeah,
the water out of the cockpit so easily on your boats?
Well, so the scupper system on board this thing, which is like that's just not for this boat. All assegai, they're like, the scuppers are this long and that wide,
Gotcha.
they're not that big.
Yeah.
So which and they've got you build it with a curved transom. So the Barry Martin, I asked him what the benefit of that was, and he said also for pushing through the water. But he reckons when you go on astern and the cockpits, we still fill up if it's real rough, but it only takes 20 seconds for all the water to go out. Like,
I got you.
Whilst you're still going backwards, because he says that his idea is that the curved transom creates a Venturi effect when you're going astern, and it helps suck all that water.
I got
through those big scuppers.
Interesting.
And it really works. Like, you watch the GoPro footage of, especially when I was working on a Scari or when on this thing, like, if you fill up the back, it doesn't take, if you're still going backwards, it'll suck out before the next wave comes over.
Wow.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's
yeah, they're very cool, mate. Yeah, and they're good, and they're unbelievable in a head seat. They're plank seated construction, which they all think, that's why they take so long to build. But they got so much strength. There's no creaks. There's no, it's all solid as.
You fish typically out of Port Stevens till April or May, and then what do you do between? I assume the beginning of the can season is like October, late September, middle September, October.
Yeah. So sort of like we'll get the boat down there. Sort of have January's might do a little bit of fishing, but the real fishing starts again sort of February, March, April, which is predominantly our season down on the East Coast, New South Wales East Coast. Yeah, so we'll fish pretty hard through there. If we do the tournaments, and I'll sort of book a bunch of charters through that time, and that's when the owner likes to use the boat a lot. And then after that, so April, then May, June, July, the cooler months down here. So we target yellowfin tuna, and we've been getting a run of southern bluefin lately, which is pretty cool. So they've been the last 5 years or so, they've made a massive comeback. I'm not sure why, whether it be quotas and all that sort of stuff, but you're catching 100 kilo, 100 kilo fish. That's sort of the average size, between 60 to 100 kilos. And when you find the pile, there's so many of them. They're thick. Like, you get 5-way hookups, and they're on. But when you get the pocket of water, sometimes you have to travel quite far to. I don't know whether it's that everyone's using rip charts and all the time zero and stuff that people know where they live now, or whether they've made a big comeback. It's really, I'm not really too sure.
The guys, there's been a bluefin bite in California that has been going on for 5, 6, 7 years that they didn't have for a long, long time. I find that very interesting. That it's, I assume you're fishing not necessarily warm water. I don't know what it would be. Probably not like you would fish for marlin, right?
Nah, it's cool
cooler,
water.
right?
So you're finding that cool slack water on the on the charts. That's where you catch them 16 degrees. 17 degrees Celsius, the cool water, predominantly down here, we're fishing, down south here, it's 22 to 23 degree water. That's prime for marlin, but come winter months, sort of sits around that 18, 19 degrees. And then, once you find that 15, 16 degree cool water, when it comes into, range for us guys, they're thick.
Wow.
Yeah, they're in big numbers.
That seems so similar to what's his name on the Stella June was chucking, Nick.
Evan.
The guy from California. Yeah, Evan. That seems really, really similar. Then that's really interesting that you say that they've made a comeback and it's coincides.
Yeah.
And I think we even asked him about he knew if they came from I guess it would be the Western Pacific for us. But he didn't I think he either said it, he didn't know, or he didn't think they mix, but you probably do.
Yeah, well, there's something to it, because I've fished out of Sydney since I was 12 years old, and I'd never even heard of one getting caught, and now it's just everyone just wait, and when they're here big time, and they catch him all the way up and down the coast. Like they've been getting him in big numbers down south too, around the bottom of South Australia, and big numbers, and they catch them in real shallow water down there, like 30 meters of water. Yeah, there's definitely something going on
because they were super. They were super
finding them.
They were super overfished back in the day, like years ago, right?
Yeah, 100%. I just something's happened, and it's good. It's perfect.
It's
like it's another sort of fishery. Yeah, and people go mad about them. Like you just, because you get to come home with a good feed and they're beautiful, but you only have to catch a couple, then you get to go home. It's good. It's perfect.
And then after that, then it's up to Cairns. Tell us about that ride up.
Yeah.
I mean, like going from Florida, from here to Ocean City, where I live in the Mid-Atlantic, to where Nick is, it's like a 4-day ride. It's nothing crazy, but going from Port Stevens or even the Gold Coast to Cairns, that's a hike, isn't it?
Yeah. So usually, I've done the trip up every year that I've gone up there, and usually I go from Sydney. So if you go like round the clock, it's usually 7 days and 7 nights. So
wow.
Yeah, and usually you do that at the start of the season and the end, obviously, and it's just you and the other crew and the captain. You just take shifts and get up there. But these days I like to break it up a little bit. I'll do from Sydney to the Gold Coast, and then maybe pull in for a night. Then sort of if you can then go from Gold Coast up to say Airlie Beach and the Whitsundays, and then you sort of head out to the reef and you can do some fishing. So I usually try and book a trip in on the way up, or whether it be a sort of like pay for fuel and wages and whatnot. They jump on at Airlie Beach and we head out to the reef and catch all our bait for the season and do a little bit of marlin fishing and other bits and pieces just to sort of break it up, which is good. But on the way home, you just want to get home. You're that over it. Like I was, you've done a massive season, and usually as soon as you want to go home, it starts blowing about 25 knots from the southeast, so you have to punch into that, which is a disaster. Yeah, so usually I just truck it home. I just get home as quick as I can.
Gotcha. And so, but once you get north of, I guess, the Brisbane area, is there anywhere to get fuel? Like, do you have to go straight from there?
No, you can sort of pull into a bunch of ports up and down the coast. Yeah, there's plenty of places to fuel up if you want. Some boats run, like a lot of the private guys, they just run. So they'll just run from here to the closest port they can make it, or run during the day, go slow through the night, run the next day to get to fuel up, and then they'll it does, if you can run, it doesn't take you long at all to get up there. But sort of we take the time and try and save a bit of money on fuel and whatnot.
Yeah, I did the math. That's over $8. That's like equivalent to a little over $8 a gallon.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's up there. It's real crazy prices at the moment. As a charter boat, we get a bit of a rebate from, I think we get 30 cents off or something from the government, but it's massive. So and it's across the board. Everything's just getting more expensive at the moment.
Yeah.
Groceries, berthage, everything, sort of, which makes it a little bit tricky with the charter pricing and stuff. We might have to adjust it next year if things keep going up, which
our charter
is
price,
what it is.
The boat I work on, our charter price basically doubled.
Well, some boats I heard are doing fuel plus, working out how much fuel and then charge that on top of the day rate, which is because it's bloody hard. It's hard. Like Cairns is good because you don't have to run much. You run out to the reef, and then the rest of the time you just spend trolling around. So, but to do a day trip out of here, it's sort of 30 miles out to the fishing grounds, or 25. So you burn, and then you're trolling. If you're trolling lures around all day, you're burning like 800 liters a day, which is when the fuel price is like that, you have to charge a lot to sort of make a profit.
Yeah. So you take the ride up there. And is the weather typically pretty decent on the way up, or
nah, yeah, your time. Or say, for instance, this season we, for the end of November, it was light northerlies. Like this is when we're up on the season. For the last 3 weeks, it was flat calm, like ridiculously calm, so hot, which is the opposite of what you want up there. Like you want it to be blowing. So so it was so hot, uncomfortable to sleep. Like the fishing gets a bit slow. But then as soon the day we wanted to leave to head home, it started blowing 25 to 30 knots sou'easter. So that, yeah, so we
But,
punched into that for a few days.
On the way up, is it decent or no?
No, it's okay because usually it's blowing
Behind
southeast
you.
then, so it's
gotcha.
behind you, which is good. Yeah, so you pick up a couple of knots, but it still gets rough. Yeah, but it's all good. We just, when you're going slow, the
Talk a little
gyro's
bit
the game
about
changer, that's for sure.
tell us about that fishing. You said you had good fishing on this, the past.
Yeah, you get in the cans and then you're there and you're ready to rock, right?
Yeah, we get in and then I sort of just did a trip from Cairns up to Cooktown, and yeah, we had a great season. We caught 88 fish in, I think we did 66 days heavy tackle.
Wow.
Which was good. We caught 3 real big ones, like up over 900 pounds. We got an 800 pounder. We got quite a few fish in that 500 to 700 pound range, which was good, or say 400 to 700 pound. We call that mid ranges, which was good because the last few seasons it's it's either been really big or small. So yeah, that was awesome. And October was fantastic for us. Like, yeah, we had a few days we caught 5 and, a couple of days 4s and, sort of big numbers for up there, which was, which was fantastic. And as I was saying, like, yeah, we sort of last year we took the boat up there, but because of COVID, all my charters, they're either from Sydney or from over in the States. So none of them could get up to Queensland. So it was quite good. The owner spent like 35 days on board and we just fished with him. Yeah, 35 days was so good. Yeah, it was unreal. And he's an absolute legend. So it was just, myself, Dean Butler, who's a bit of a guru up here, like an old-time legend who I've actually worked for over the years. He's like a fly fishing guide / captain / gaff man / like absolute legend of a bloke. And I was lucky enough to secure him as one of the crew. And then one of my good mates, Reese, who's who I'd worked for, crewed together with for I think it was 5 or 6 seasons. So yeah, it was unreal. It was just us 4 boys, having the fattest time. We caught a heap of fish, and it was no stress. Like it was unbelievable. And all the years I've been up there, that was one of the funnest seasons I've ever done.
Was it better that year just because nobody was there? Like for you guys, the boats that were there, was it better?
Well, we caught more fish this year, but last year we caught more big ones.
I got you.
But there's hardly any boats fishing. But it's sort of last year was better because it was more fun. When it's sort of like we did a lot of our trips this season back to back, like say 5-day trips, and you're out the next day. Like it does take its toll on you. Looking after a 58-footer brand new, so sort of the standards are pretty high. Like it's not like a 40-footer where it's real quick to wash down at once you get back into Cooktown or end of the day, and a lot of systems and stuff. But I had like a heap of backlog of charters that couldn't come last year, so they all sort of funneled into this season. Which but it was unreal. Gotcha. It's always good up there.
So tell us about. I mean, most of us know how you fish with those giant dead baits, but tell us about how that works, man. Because it's just, I mean, you're trolling around a 20-pound wahoo or something like that. Like it's wild. So we use, like, one thing you asked before about building a custom boat. Like I was lucky enough to have a lot of input into this boat, so we run a lot of our a lot of fresh bait. So we would very rarely run we'll have heaps of frozen baits for backups. But, I've got ice makers and fish tubs and stuff. So we can run our baits for, 5-6 days out of the ice. So when you pull them out, instead of pulling them out of the freezer, they're a bit grey and they lose their colour. Like I think that the fish definitely know, and they know when they eat it, they might feel a bit mushy or something. So all our stuff, pretty well fresh, even if we didn't catch it that day. But the big, and those little tiny fish, they eat the big baits too. Our biggest fish I think, you catch and you catch the giant marlin on the little baits too, on the swim bait, on the scad, they don't mind. But it's sort of what's your spread look like typically?
It's all pretty simple compared to you guys. I don't run a dredge. I run a dredge down here. A lot of boats this season did run a dredge, but this boat's a dredge. Like, I don't know. They just love it. So I just try and keep it as simple as possible. I run 3 baits, one big bait, and I'll run a a big tuna or a scaly, and then I'll run a swim bait on one side, and then I'll mix it up with like a small skip bait out on the center, or like a swimming queenie, or just whatever we have fresh for the day. Try and use we save our fresh stuff for the tide change, like our actual fresh stuff that we call that morning for the tide change. But yeah, the big, you have the big, sometimes it's really good to run like a massive bait, like a huge Spaniard or a big wahoo or something like that. But man, they just stuff it up. They just, they get all, even the smaller fish try and nail it, and they can't swallow it. Like even the big giant ones, they try and eat it. They get all fucking tangled up in it. And next thing it's hanging down behind their tail. They're jumping. I might get a bite out of him later this afternoon. But yeah, we went, I don't know. But yeah,
And
it's
then
all cool and fun running the big
too?
bait.
You're running teasers as
No,
well?
I don't run teasers. Nah, not up there. No, just try and keep it as simple as possible. I do anyway. Yeah. A lot of boats are transitioning to the dredge, and I was running a dredge this year when we lure fished.
Mhm.
But I don't know. I haven't quite started doing it. It obviously works. Like the boats that did run them, were successful and stuff. But some boats are just running a dredge or two dredges and two baits, like getting rid of the third bait, because it's as good as the third bait is, like you've got so much line out the back there, like you do miss quite a few of them. Like, we're running our center bait like way back, maybe 40, 45 arm span, double arm span. So it's way back there. By the time it eats, there's so much line in the water. It has a lot of chance of stuffing it up. So some people, would it come in and eat the close baits? Probably that's people's theory. So they're running dredges and then two baits in short. You definitely get a better hookup rate on your shorter baits. 100%.
Tell me about how you guys, like, when you got up in the rigger. I've seen if you're going from the rod tip, it goes from the rod tip to a clip sometimes, and then up to the rigger, and then to the bait.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah. So you got your drop back in the water. We probably run about 10-foot of drop back. So that comes off the reel, loops into the water, then goes back to a clip that we run out of our fair lead on the transom, and then up to the clip in the rigger and then out. And the only reason for that is because it's always windy up there. You don't want the drop back just blowing back over your rod tip or whatever. Get any chance of it when you got a bit of side wind, it blowing over the rod or something. That's the only reason for that. But and then we just sort of run our thing at 10 kilos. I've sort of gone away from any sort of free school or anything. I'm trying to hook them quick with a circle hook. Like sometimes I don't even stop the boat. Training at 10 kilos and get the bite. If it's a nice big fish, we want it as short drop back as possible, because I've had so much changes, and this is just we had a really good hookup rate this year, but some years you get you give them too much time and you get a giant fish all the way back to the boat, and you grab the leader and it comes up and does a gag and the bait comes out. You've fought that fish with 30 kilos of drag all the way to the boat, but it's just been holding
and you never hooked it. Yeah, gotcha.
Nah, the hook's not even close to being in its mouth, and then as soon as you get the leader, which is the whole fun part, it just does a bit of a gag and the bait comes out. You can put it back out if you want it, and you're like, oh, we caught the fish, but it's not really, you wanted to do the big jumps and all the carry on close to the boat. That's the whole point.
That's the whole point.
So a guy I used to fish with, a guy I used to fish with, he's like 90. He went down there, and we were fishing a sailfish tournament in South Florida, and he was like, yeah, we were down there. I can't remember how long ago it was. It was a long time ago, but he was like, yeah, we fished. Like we would see packs of them, and we would only like throw a bait out, or actually like actively try to hook the big one. So they come in like groups sometimes.
Yeah, like I think that's like must be a long time ago, man.
Yeah. I mean, the guy was 90.
Yeah.
The guy was 90 years old. I was fishing the Gold Cup with him. Like he was like 89 years old 10 years ago. So like
right. Yeah,
he's still fishing.
Towing a tuna behind Noah's Ark. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
No, it's I've heard those old time dudes talking about that sort of stuff, but like they do come in packs. Like the biggest fish we caught this season, it was quite cool. Mark and we're fishing a particular spot. There was me and one of my good mates were fishing, either side of this point, and he picked one side, I was on the other, and I was marking so many fish, big fish with little ones around it, and just peppered it all day. And at 5:30, I see it was quite rough, and 5:30 up she came with probably had about 4 fish with it. and the big fish come in, and I thought, oh, I didn't think it was that big, because usually, it comes swimming in, and I'm like, oh, here she comes, and everyone on board saw her because they could see him in the waves. There was just bright purple everywhere, and she's swimming in anyway, eats. I'm like, oh, okay, sweet. Got her on, and then we're fighting it, and I'm like, oh, I don't think it's that big. Because otherwise I may have tried. At least tried. I wanted to take one, otherwise we may have tried to take it. But I could see the fish swimming, and I'm like, oh, it's not that big. Kieran grabbed the leader, and then the fish that I was looking at swam off. And I was looking at the wrong fish. It had a second fish, which was probably about a 500-pounder, 600-pounder swimming on top of it. And then I saw the actual one with hooks. I'm like, oh, get ready.
Oh, shit.
But which was pretty cool. But yeah, when they're like that, it's quite common to see a bunch of them swimming together. And and then we'd already sort of cut behind, and we got all the jumps on it. We let it go. We try and get rid of them as, get the good jumps and get the photos and the videos and all the mad stuff. But yeah, then we try and get rid of them pretty quick. Just let them go do their thing.
Because the sharks will get them sometimes, right?
Yeah, they're bad. Yeah, real bad, especially close to the reef edge. Like if you're fishing out wide, they're okay, but there's a few reefs that are real bad for them. One off Cairns in particular. That gets a lot of boat traffic, private guys, and, people out there bottom fishing, and, the sharks are onto it. Yeah, they're fully onto it. Like if you have a fight for, over half an hour, over 20 minutes in some spots, like every minute that you don't catch that fish, there's a high chance that shark's going to bite it.
Gotcha.
It sucks.
It does suck. Yeah, it's heartbreaking. Like, it's the last thing we want. Like, all you want to do is let them go, and it's, it's good condition they are. And if you are going to take one, so be it. At least, then having the sharks eat it is, No, we were lucky this season. We didn't have any shark encounters this year.
Now,
which was good, but
have they gotten worse, or is it just something you've always had to deal with?
Nah, way worse. Yeah,
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and they get worse when a bite's on. If there's a big group of fish coming, and there's a lot of fish getting caught, like they'll get worse. They'll just follow the boat around. Yeah, they're onto the sound. Like even some spots, like down off Cairns, Linden Bank. Yeah, if you catching mat tunas for bait, like I was going down to this year just running 2 like Halcos. Usually run 3 and a couple of kins on the riggers. I was just running 2 Halcos, like a heavy drag, because you can't fight. Because the sharks just follow the boat around, and then you hook a little tuna, and within 2 seconds they eat that, then they eat your Halco, and you go broke buying Halcos. You're going through that much tackle. Yeah, it's they sort of the big marlin. You just in spots like that, you just can't fight them with heavy drag. You got to let them swim and let them swim out. If you don't catch them quick, you let them swim out off the reef edge, and then then you can hit them with a bit of drag, let them swim away. That's one thing I learned is in places like that where there are lots of drag, it's not put into sunset, and it doesn't work. Yeah, you gotta let the fish try to swim away, and then you can start pulling a few maneuvers.
How do they typically? How do they typically fight? I mean, you always see the incredible videos of them going nuts on the leader, but do they go nuts out there too? Yeah, they do. The blacks usually do, and because we're using circle hooks, there's certain ways that we fight them. And if you do have them clean in the corner, like there's, obviously little tricks you can do to sort of get them to pop, and you have a few up your sleeve. They fight good. At the start they'll do all their jumps, and then they'll usually go down and settle. And then if you can get on top of them, and hit them with a bit of drag, you get another reaction, and you just keep just hooking into your playbook, and then hopefully, sooner enough they make a mistake. If they don't, then give us a play from a captain's perspective. You got one down and dirty, and he's
always trying to use the angle of the boat. That's what I like, and that's what I was taught by, especially by Corey, who I work for a long time. He's real good at driving on fish, and he taught me always using angles. Like we'd have never do we have the line up and down at the back. It's always like out off a corner, out off there, we'll drive around on the fish a lot, try and get the leader rubbing across his face, touching his eyes. There's always one side you can pull on a fish in forward to change the angle or get in front of the fish. If we want to tow him out a bit, if we're marking sharks, we get in front, and actually, mark on the GPS which way he's swimming and then just swim him out.
Do they typically
get him,
swim to deeper water when they get hooked?
Yeah, they'll go east. Yeah, or they
Gotcha.
might head towards the reef and then they hit the reef and they're like, okay,
I
I can't swim there, and then so they have to go the other way. Yeah. It's only this deep. Yeah, so there's heaps of little, and the worst thing, especially up there, is that you learn that you just can't fighting them up and down. You're not going to do anything.
No,
it's not going to do. Yeah, so it's always out to the side and
try to almost stay in front of
the
them.
angle. Yeah, that's one little thing. You could, or you might pull him. Pull it that way. You find out which way to lead this thing, and sometimes even if he's, if he's all, he might be wrapped around his peck or something like that, around his anal fin, something. All those things will, eventually pull it off, which is good. And then, and you can get to business.
Then you get them on the leader. Do you miss being there on the leader now that you're driving all the time? Yeah, dude, I loved it. That was the best years of my life. Like, we had some sensational fishing. Like, it's
what was the biggest one you got the wire?
Like I never wired one that we put in the boat, but big 1,000 pounds, 1,100 pounds, all big ones. Like I was the gaff, like me and me and the crew. Me and Reese, I reckon he was better at leadering than me. And if we wanted to take one, he'd leader and I'd gaff. So we weighed I weighed a 1324 and 1177. That's my biggest that I've gaffed.
A 1324.
But
Wow.
Yeah, that was my first season, actually.
Wow. First season.
Which was
good way to start.
So, I haven't taken it. No, it was so good. And then we got the 1177 a few seasons after that. But I haven't taken a fish in a while. It's everyone sort of thinks, and they come over here and they think, oh, going to weigh a grand of this, weigh a grand of that. Like, it's very rare. I think there's only one weighed this season. It's just, you really got to be committed if you're going to try and take a fish. Like, you got to have somewhere to weigh it. Like, it damages the boat. Like, it's a big commitment. You got to actually really want to do it. It's, sometimes it's a lot easier not,
Are people still
just as rewarding to let it go?
Are people still wanting to, hang a fish as bad as they were a few years back, or is it people more, on the release side of it?
Mate, it's sort of. I think people, if it's all up to charter preference. Whatever they want to do, you sort of, you ask them at the start of the trip, do you want to do it? Like, if you want to do it, we got to sort of.
What do you do with
it? Like, you can't just say, you weigh it. Yeah, you weigh it on a mothership. You can't weigh it on land. So you have to have a mothership close by. Like, it's actually, it's a mission.
And then
you
what?
Try and get it out of the boat. Like. Nothing. You can take it in and get it molded.
I gotcha. I've killed a couple blue marlins, and they weren't more than 450 pounds, and they were a pain in the ass to deal with. Like, I was like, why? I'm never doing this again. I don't care if the thing's dead. I'm letting it swim off because I'm not dealing with this.
A lot of people, mate. And there's no two ways about it. You're gonna scratch the boat. Like, you're gonna do some damage, whether it's gaffing the thing or whether you're pulling it on or something. You can't take a big fish like that without doing some damage. So especially because you have to take them quick. But that's sort of not what it's all about anymore up there. Like, I think back in the day it was, but a lot of people, if you're with like someone who's weighed a few, you can tell if it's over 1,000 pounds or not. And the real guys don't call them over 1,000 pounds just to make the client happy. You know what I mean? It's got to actually be proper big for, a lot of the captains to say it's 1,000, they're not going to say it just to get a tip or whatever. Some guys do, but I'm always honest with how I call the fish, no matter how badly they want the grander. Like, if they don't, if I didn't think it was an absolute giant and they didn't want to take it, then I'm not going to just give it to them.
Gotcha. Make them work for it.
Tell us about
it's a big thing.
You spent a lot of time in the cockpit too. I have a young mate, and I actually got Bo Jennings to show him, how to lead her fish, and she seems to be a good one to ask. But like, what would your playbook for what do you like to see your mates do, like with a fish?
Yeah, like, you know, Bo was one of the guys that I looked up to when I first started crewing, like all those sort of guys. Like, it's
Incredible
all practice.
guy.
And I just, he's amazing. He was one of the dudes I looked up to even before I started. You know, I remember he gave me the time of day, you know, when I was first up there. And I always remember that. Some guys, you know, sort of didn't. You know, I always, for the crew, you just sort of I always tell my crew, sometimes I'm lucky the last few seasons I've had some experienced guys working for me, so I don't really have to tell them anything, which is awesome, as you guys would know. Just the best crew is one you don't have to really talk to, unless when you're having beers at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But just I don't know. It's just you don't need to rip their head off. Like, it's all nice and easy. Just don't get too fancy with all the back wraps and this wrap and all this stuff. You know, I didn't even know what a back wrap was when I was crewing, and you know, I'm not a big, strong dude. Like, it's all just technique, and
I mean, with those big fish, with those big in the videos, you see I've only caught three blacks in my life, and they all went nuts at the boat. Like, once you get them to the boat, that's when the real fun begins. But like, I guess if you're trying to like get a tag in a fish or kill it, you got to kind of try to keep them calm.
That really, no, we trying. When they're boat side, you want to get the heat on the leader. That's one thing. But one thing I could, all the good leadermen that I've ever had working for me, when they're cut, they all have a lot of practice with smaller fish, even catching juvenile little blacks on 60-pound leader, you know what I mean? They'll take wraps and let go with one hand, hold on with the other. Like, it's all just, even with small blues, stripes, not, just a quick pull and get the release and chop it off. You know what I mean? Like, all those little fish, you can, if you treat them like a big marlin, it's all sort, it all sort of progresses, because you can't go and lead a big marlin every time you catch a fish. But if if you're leadering a little black or a sailfish or a white, and with the same sort of technique, watching it, if he's jumping, let go, always have wraps in both hands. That's all awesome practice.
Yeah
That's one little thing that I know that all crewmen that have worked for me, they've got experience with, that light tackle sort of fishing, not just, pulling on heavy leader with big, because you don't get the practice. You can't get the practice. There's only, you only get a certain amount of shots on big fish up on the reef, and you share it with the other crewmen anyway. So you have to do a lot of seasons before you really have leaded a lot of big fish.
Yeah.
But, and blue marlin are different. They can go nuts, obviously, but, that sort of gives you the technique of the heavy weight, pulling them up from the depths. I would say it's just, treat every fish like it's a big one.
I like it. Practice the right way.
Yeah. Yeah, you practice the right way, and then it just gets in. My young crewman this year, he's first on the reef, but he works for Peak Sports Fishing. And he's a great little leaderman, for someone who hasn't much big fish experience, but he's leaded lots of, small to mid-range fish, and, and he did an incredible G, leaded an absolute beauty for one of his first nice big fish. And he did such a good job, and it's just from that practice on those, smaller fish, and know when to let go, know when to pull.
Yeah, that's sick.
Yeah.
Those guys do pretty well. The Peak, you said?
They do, yeah. No, they do good. They do real well. Yeah, they catch lots. I went fishing with them.
Savages.
I know Eddie. Yeah, they are. Yeah, I know Eddie. He crewed over here. He worked for Ross Vincent, actually. He crewed over here, and I met him when I was crewing. And we became mates, and I went and visited him last year. And
what's that place like?
He's young crewman. Oh, it's epic. Yeah, it's crazy. It was like I went over there and we just fished for the juveniles. But mate, you can just see it from the fish that he's catching. It's like, it's the wild, wild west over there. It was not what I thought. Like, you don't leave out a marina. You don't, you drive through the desert to get to the boat ramp, and then all the boats are on moorings. And it's pretty mental.
It's not a big,
very, very
big
cool
town there, is it? Exmouth? It's not very big.
Tiny town. Yeah, it's pretty popular now with four drivers and campers and stuff. But it's not big at all. It's very, very cool. Yeah, they have some fantastic fishing. They get some serious big numbers.
That's sick.
Hoping to get him on at some
good.
point.
I'd love to take my boat around over there one day. Like, that's I don't know whether I'll get there, because it's seriously far from here. It's massive.
Wait, so where's that? That's on the bottom?
There's no ships that can take the boat. Oh yeah, you can go to the bottom or the top. It's sort of like, straight across the whole country on the other
Oh,
side.
wow.
Yeah, on the west. Yeah, I think it's like, yeah, it's bloody far from here. It's like you're 1,200 to Cairns, and then you got to keep going. I think it's like closer to get to Hawaii from here than it is to Exeter.
To go
Yeah,
to
it's not
go
close.
to go across the top, there's like nothingness up there, right?
Yeah, nothing. I haven't done a trip across there. I've only done into the Gulf and over to Go, but yeah, it's nothing. Yeah, you go to Darwin, and I'm sure you could do it, but it'd be perfect if you had like a boat wise or something who could chuck this on and send it over. Right?
Yeah.
Do it in a heartbeat. Like that's the goal, is to do a bit of we're going to do a bit of exploring with this boat. Whether we take it over New Zealand or over to the Pacific or something. That's the sort of end goal one day.
Yeah. Nice.
The Pacific Islands.
The Wanganella Banks.
Yeah.
That'd
Go
be cool.
there. I've been there before. Went there with
No.
Yeah, I fished there before.
Wow.
I fished there with that Dean Butler who I was. We took a boat called the Blue Dog from Port Stephens over to New Zealand. Fly fishing. Fishing with Tom Evans for the 20-pound tippet, striped marlin world record. And on the way over, it was only a 40. What is it? I think it's like 44 foot. The boat, yeah. We went from there to Lord Howe and fueled up there. And then we went to the Wanganella, fished there for 2 days. And then, and then we went over to New Zealand.
Did you find them?
Yeah, no, we did. But the worst thing was that we cleared customs in Lord Howe Island, which is like a small island. I know, like 200 something miles off Australia, off Sydney, and we cleared customs there. But we caught a heap of bait, slimy mackerel off Port Stephens, cryovac, all glamour, waiting for our pitch baits when we got there. And then customs made us throw it out. Oh, yeah. So we had to throw all the bait over. So that was just an absolute disaster. So ditched the bait, and it was 2 days and 2 nights, I think, to get. There was like 500 miles from Lord Howe. I think it was about 500 miles from Lord Howe, I think it was. So
that place is in the middle of nowhere, right?
Yeah, literally. Yeah, so it's closer to New Zealand than Lord Howe. So we fueled up. We had a bladder on the deck, and then we refueled at Lord Howe, and then we timed it so once we got to Wanganellas, we could ditch the bladder into the main tanks and then fish there for 2 days and then finish up in New Zealand.
Gotcha.
And I remember I was doing my watch. It was like 3 o'clock. I was doing like from 4 a.m. till 6. And anyway, at about 5:30, the sun started coming up, and Dean Butler bring me up a coffee, and he's like, "Where are we?" I go, "Oh mate, we're so close." Like, then we're looking at this waypoint. Like, I had the waypoint set on Wanganellas, or one of the marks that someone gave us, I think. And anyway, I'm like, he gave me the coffee, and I go, "Can I put a teaser out?" And he goes, "Oh, we weren't meant to, I was going to transfer the fuel first before we started fishing and whatnot." And he goes, "I'll chuck one out." And I put the squid chain with a mold craft out, just shot it up off the bridge teaser, and I'm drinking my coffee, and I'm just like, "On the left!" Spilt my coffee everywhere. There was 2 striped marlin fighting over the teaser, and we tease it up to the back. I've got coffee everywhere. He's trying to pitch back a little mold craft squid. It was an absolute. He just goes, "Stop, stop!" And marlin eating it, falling off, eating it. It's just And then anyway, we transferred the fuel, and then that day we fished. We caught hardly any. We had like just terrible hookup rate, but we raised so many. Like, we raised heaps of bait balls everywhere with big striped marlin. I think we might have caught one on the fly rod that day. I think we caught the record like 2 or 3 times when we were there, but we just let them go because we didn't have Tom on board. Yeah, it was just
I got you.
Fishing. Yeah, and then we
This is
that
in
night.
Lord Howe, or where are you heading now?
It's a place called Wanganella Banks.
Yeah, we're at the Wanganella Banks then. Yeah, on the way to New Zealand, which is like a bank like halfway between Lord Howe and New Zealand. It comes up to like 60 fathoms, like 120 meters in the middle of the ocean. And anyway, that night we couldn't jig the bait because all the bait that we had finding just had so many marlin on them, and they just wouldn't feed. So we're trying to jag the bait. Like, we're trying to do everything to get some bait. Anyway, we did. I think we caught maybe 5 or 6 that day from like I don't know how many shots. And then that night we just sort of drifted across the bank, and I was washing a plate over the side with the deck hose, and I'm like, no way. There was all these yellowtail eating the crumbs off the plate, and I grabbed the jig,
Wow.
loaded up, filled the live bait tank up, and the next day I think we caught 16. The next day, and then I think we caught 2 on the fly rod. Like we brained them the next day.
Is there anything else? Like, I mean, I gotta think there's tunas and stuff out there too, right? Or is it just all
Yeah, I'm
strikies?
sure at times there's big kingfish, big kingies, big. I think there'd be sorties there. Like we didn't fish at night. We were too wrecked.
Yeah.
Just from the travel and stuff. So we just took our chance to have a bit of sleep and got up early and then just fished hard all that day. And it's a shame to leave. So the goal is hopefully to get back in this boat and
That would be
really
badass.
give them a tune up. Yeah. A lot of boats. More and more boats from NZ go there now from New Zealand because they're getting set up for just doing trips like that. But they're Marlin. Well, they were thick when I was there.
Nick, look it up on YouTube, dude. They go up there. Some of the people, because it's still like 230, 250 miles from New Zealand, right?
Yeah, it's out there. It's a long way. There's nowhere to hide. Like you can't, and it would get seriously rough.
Yeah, they go up there on these trawlers, Nick. They fish like with lures and no outriggers and shit like that, dude.
Yeah,
they're just going whatever they got.
Yeah, you don't need much finesse. Yeah, that's for sure. We just towed two hookless lures. That was all we towed, like I think a Lumo sprocket and a Moldcraft Bobby Brown behind a squid chain. That's all we had. And there was most times there was 2 fish on every teaser. If you were to
so you could
crazy.
get fuel
and big fish too.
Oh yeah, and you get fuel in Lord Howe.
Yeah, we got fuel in Lord Howe to get us over there. But you'd be best to do that. But you're best to go from NZ. Like you probably it's closer to get to New Zealand from there. So you'd maybe try and do 2 trips out of it. So that's hopefully all was good. Yeah, we caught 16. I think so we caught 16 in one day, and then we spent 40 days fly fishing, and we caught 1. So that was good. Yeah, and it was only 96 kilos. It wasn't even the record. But we did fly fishing, it's tough. We had we didn't have many shots when we were in New Zealand, but they were big fish. They were all nice big ones. We probably caught the smallest one that we had on, but they caught the record I think the following year, but I wasn't on board.
How's the fish? Do they have like a big sport fishery out of New Zealand?
They do. And same as anywhere. The striped marlin fish and blues actually weighed $1,000 a black there yesterday.
I saw that.
They catch some fantastic swordfish, and they get big striped marlin. Like I seen one getting weighed over there that was like 205 kilos.
Massive.
That's a
like
nice
a stripey. It's huge.
Yeah, that's
they're bloody dorsal fins as tall as me.
Yeah.
You couldn't miss that one coming in on the teaser.
No.
Yeah,
that would get Anthony going. That looked like a giant white marlin.
I couldn't believe we need some.
Watch the videos, dude. I'll send you some videos next. It's fucking wild what they got going on down there.
Yeah, but it's it just goes to show the fishing's usually always good in places that are hard to get to. Like I don't think that place is commercially fished much. I know but hopefully they don't find out about it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know of any place that's as hard to get to as that place.
Yeah, it's definitely on the. Yeah, that was a long time ago. I went there, so the owner's keen to go hit it up, and I had an NZ crew this year, and he was sort of like, he planted a bit of a seed. He's been there a few times, and he's so fingers crossed we can all get over there again the next year or two.
That'd be amazing.
Love to get you back on the pod after you do some sick fishing again.
Yeah, bro, anytime. Yeah, no, it was good. I was actually, I was a bit nervous about the old podcast, but it was good.
Nah, that was badass, man. You Australians, dude, you guys always have a good story for us.
Yeah.
We're
lucky. We get, we got some great fishing right on our doorstep, and we all love it. Like, you had Ross on board. Like everyone who does it over here lives and breathes it, same as you guys, I'm sure. But there's not, it's very unique, and you become good mates with all the other captains and the crew and all that sort of stuff. It's quite a nice little community that we got over here.
How many boats do that Port Stevens, the Cairns circuit? Daniel?
There's probably only like 2 other boats that do that.
I got you.
The Calypso down there. The Calypso does it. They're one of the main charter boats out of Port Stephens there, and it's like, yeah, sort of when I'm down there, it's Scotty Thorrington on the Freedom, and then Timmy Dean on the Calypso, and then myself, where they're like sort of the 3 charter boats down there, and then Timmy takes the boat up to to Cairns every year, and he has done forever. And a lot of boats from the Goldie go up, but there's more and more boats that are just Cairns based that fish there now.
I gotcha. What are they? What's I mean, I assume in the, I guess it would be the winter. There's got to be fishing up there too, right?
At Port Stephens.
No, up in Cairns.
No, not really. No, it's sort of all the ribbon reefs are actually closed off, like the outside of them. You're not allowed to fish them until like the start of August. They make them into a bit of a sanctuary zone.
Oh wow!
They've always got, but you got, say, the juvenile black marlin rock up there. I think like sort of August sort of thing. They get, but you can always go out fishing. There's heaps of light tackle to be done and catch a mackerel and plenty of good bottom fishing, and you can go up barra fishing. Yeah, there's all plenty of stuff to do, but not so much marlin fishing.
Are they there when it's a sanctuary, or it's just not the right time?
Probably the residential fish probably would be, but not the big girls. They sort of come in around that September through to December. They go away, but they were there early this year.
Where you are now, you're saying like you get that small black fishery. Is that where those guys catch them in like super shallow water?
No, that's a little bit further north of Fraser Island.
Fraser Island,
but Fraser Island. That's not too. That's only 100 miles from here.
Have you done that?
Yeah, they catch them right up there, and plenty of times. Yeah, I've done that times.
All the way up in the shallows, right?
Black marlins are like an overgrown sailfish. They live in the same areas.
Well, they catch them in years ago. I was anchored in the anchorage, and I woke up one morning and looked out shore, and there was a dude fighting a little marlin out of his tinny between me and the shore. He would have been in waist deep water. Yeah, they do that on the regular.
Wow,
that's badass.
Still there, Dan?
Yeah, gotcha, mate. It's sort of a bit patchy. I don't know what's going on.
Well, that's badass, man. It's been
all beauty, boys. Cheers for the chat. I don't know if there's anything else you want to talk about. That was good.
I'm gonna have to tell Ross he's got a guy coming for him for the Australian spotlight.
He'll be Ross is a good man. He's one of the guys that there's a few captains that I really looked up to when I was crewing and stuff, and he was one of them for sure. So that's good.
I got the doc next to him a couple years ago in the Bahamas, so that was a trip, man. He's a good guy.
Yeah, no, he is, mate. No, he's got it looks like an epic sort of operation going on over there. I still speak to him regularly, like on Instagram or whatever.
Fucking fishing all over the world, man. He's crushing it.
Yeah, that's so good. I bet he can't wait to get back.
Yeah, I'm sure.
No, second corner's not the same without him. That's a spot he always used to fish.
All right, man. We appreciate it.
All right, boys. Good luck.
Thanks, Dan. See
you, mate.
Thanks for listening. State of Sport Fishing Podcast, Billfish Gear, and check out hookedoptics.com.